clear plastic gun sight. I'm going to do this. Damn it! Working.
Wake up. I'm the ghost of R&D invention. I'm going to show you something. I'm going to take you somewhere. Just grab my scarf. Sit down. Let me tell you something about R&D invention and how R&D as invention is typically a 4-phase cycle which is repeated many times during the development of the product or the service.
Okay, then what are those 4 phases? What's the first phase?
R&D inventors usually conceive of a problem and a related solution based on the knowledge of the experience and insight.
Okay, then what would be the step after that?
Secondly, they build a virtual or physical model of the prototype of the problem they've come up with and their intended use environment.
So then with the prototype, I guess this would be the third step. That with that they would use it for some kind of an experiment?
Yes, that's correct. And from the experiment, they will analyze what went wrong and what are the things that work for him. And so again, from that experience, he will go back to the second stage to make those changes in the prototype.
Okay, so then obviously you told me the 4 phases. So is there a good example of, how this works in real life?
Sure. Let me show you something.
More cars means more accidents. But amazingly, although the number of accidents is going up, the number of deaths is actually going down, thanks in large part to one ingenious device, the airbag. It's an incredibly sophisticated mechanism. How do they do it? For each new design, a 3D virtual model is produced, and from this, a prototype is created. Before the crash test dummies can be exposed to the airbag itself has to be tested. Once the test is completed, any faults are modified by design technicians.
Okay, my proposal is that we increase the size of the ventilation holes.
After modifications have been made, it's back to the stitching room to create the new design. Once this is complete, it's time for the final test to take place. And the airbag moves on to the next stage of development.
So what are some of the key advantages to this type of invention?
Quality is one, because you have a lot of experts and engineers working on it, which are now any treating problem at the very beginning of the development of the product. And then you get competitive advantage because all your R&D is in-house, so your competitors do not get to know and they can't replicate your product.
Okay, and then from that they would obviously create patents, and then if it's successful they can sell. Well, then, now you told me the advantage. Now what are some of the disadvantages? I would assume cost is one of those.
Yes, selling prototypes, running the experiments over and over again is quite costly. And this is basically a technology push. So basically you're just trying to sell an idea to the market which probably doesn't exist. So you don't know whether your product will ultimately sell in the market or not. And the third is it can be time consuming, because you need to go through a lot of processes.
Hey, wake up! I'm one of the sources of innovation, the ghost of recombination. Let me show you something. Come on, get up. Are you ready?
Yeah, I guess.
Alright, let's go. So please have a seat now. Well, let me give you a little introduction to recombination, but first of all let me get comfortable. So actually it's not the Eureka moment as always mentioned, where innovation comes from. Actually the leading laboratories, they changed the whole process upside down, so they are now, instead of chasing new ideas, they're actually trying to recombine new ideas in new ways. So I will give you a real-life example in the next minute.
Welcome to Dating 2.0, the 21st century way to make a date.
I suppose we'll need other things.
I'm sure we can find all the necessary options that Sarah will find most desirable.
How about that sporty body? Oh,
That pair in the red bikini. Those legs.
That was a great video. I love the idea of recombining women.
It's great that you liked it, but let me also give you an example of how organizations are actually dealing with it. They're actually looking at industries and other markets trying to recombine this to come up with these new ideas. Actually, it's assumed that 80% of innovations are coming through recombination, and also in the past they actually developed a lot of innovations based on this. So let's travel back to the 19th century.
Thomas Edison and his team members in Menlo Park, New Jersey laboratory produced one innovation after another. Telephones, phonographs, generators, light bulbs and vacuum pumps. You name it. Edison built the laboratory, in his own words, for the rapid and cheap development of an invention, and promised a minor invention every 10 days and a big thing every 6 months. And he delivered. In a single 6-year period, Edison's laboratory generated over 400 patents and became known worldwide as an invention factory. The Menlo Park Laboratory was one of the first dedicated research and development facilities.
Okay. So you might actually ask yourself how this Menlo Park lab did this, right? When we look at backstage, we see actually that the new innovation they invented was actually coming from old pieces, past pieces which have been already developed. So let's have a closer look at their electric light invention, which is most important actually for Edison.
A closer look at the Menlo Laboratory reveals the riddle. Backstage, the lab worked hard to create a future from the best pieces of the past that they could find and use. The very icon of invention, the electric light, didn't actually spring from Edison's vivid imagination. 30 years earlier, in 1845, J.W. Starr filed a caveat for a patent for the incandescent bulb. So Edison didn't invent the electric light. What he did was to put together a system of lighting that tapped many different technologies, such as existing electric lights, the telegraph networks and gas lighting, in a way that sparked a revolution.
So you have seen that Edison was very successful with his approach. So what was actually important for his success? It was actually that he was not shutting himself from the rest of the world. It was more that he connected with a high diversity that made him so innovative. So technology brokering requires building new communities about these recombinations, while technology brokering focuses on building networks around the emerging ideas. So therefore I would like to give you an example. This is just telling you how it actually should be in real life. So you see the company, and around in the environment you see actually the connection points, and that the company has to build this connection with the community.
So is the process of recombination still valid today?
You might think actually that more sophisticated methods would be necessary to come up with innovations. But for this I'll have another example again.
Apple developed a portable docking station. The idea was based on a common situation most of us might be aware of. You have limited desk space, but you need to place your screen, keyboard, laptop and especially all the books and papers you need to work on. So how to use the limited space as efficient as possible. Therefore, one of the inventors at Apple had an idea to combine those parts into one, but how to realize. Therefore, he looked at several industries and talked to several persons and finally recombined the screen, an existing VCR ejection system and an engine from a toy to create a new space-saving docking station.
Modern corporations also need to hold the same innovative potential which also surrounded Edison's lab. That's very important. So the main challenge for managers today is actually to step into these networks, to create these networks, and instead of actually rewarding R&D, number of patents, papers published, it's really important that the organizations look outside, and it's about building relationships. So in general, what is very important for you in terms of recombination is actually already mentioned here by William Gibson.
Oh, and he said that the future is already here, it's just unevenly distributed.
This is the main learning from recombination, and unfortunately I need to go now.